And I know there's a lot of people who think we should relieve student debt. You relieve student debt, and in a very, again, perverse way, it might actually create more inflation. So all of this becomes so super complicated.
Austin, I was going to ask you about student debt. Andrew brought it up. I mean, as fiscal policy, this seems like the wrong time to do it.
Now that, of course, is Andrew Ross Sorkin and Chuck Todd. Chuck Todd, who, I mean, he's supposed to be basically like a straight news person. He doesn't opine on stuff. And there, he's making clear, no, he doesn't want student loan debt to be canceled, but it's the least surprising thing in the world. None of the people who's ever going to appear on that show is going to think that it's ever time for the government to do something that helps regular people. How could it be? It's time. It's any time. That's how it's always never the time when the government would actually help you out. If it's tough times, if we're in a recession caused by a public health crisis, well, then it's certainly not time. If we finally get past it, well, now we're trying to, redevelop our economy and everything. Is it really time to put the brakes on then? It's never time. But I know we obviously think that there is a time right now where maybe pressure can work with Joe Biden. He's indicated that he is considering in the next few weeks announcing some sort of student loan debt cancellation. Now, of course, that was before the SCOTUS decision. People's eyes might have been taken off the prize. Maybe they will use that to weasel out of the promises that he's made. But I want to talk about what this might look like. I know, Cenk, you were asking how much would it cost to cancel certain levels of student loan debt. So it depends on who you ask, but generally I've looked up multiple different sources saying that to cancel $10,000 in federal student loan debt for each borrower would cost somewhere between $320 and $380 billion. And that, by the way, would eliminate the entire student loan debt for about 1 out of 3 people who have debt. Now, if you were to raise that up to $50,000 for every single person, then that would cost about $900 billion, and it would take away about 80% of everyone's student loan debt. So you got about $320 billion on the low end, $900 billion on the high end. That's sort of the figures that we're talking about here.
No, there's a reason why I asked for that, because mainstream media always quotes the number, not of 320 and 389, they always quote 1.75 trillion. But wait, is that the proposal? That's to get rid of all student debt in the country, period, right? The proposal that Biden is considering is getting rid of only $10,000 of student debt, and only for some people, which would be less than 320 million, because it would eliminate a bunch of people, okay? But mainstream media doesn't want you to do it, because, well, that might hurt bankers or other rich friends of theirs.
Yep.
So instead of saying 300 billion, they say 1.75 trillion. But wait, nobody's considering that proposal. So Biden very clearly said, I am definitely not considering that proposal. Forget all, he said, I'm not even considering the 50,000 number. No way. So why are you giving the much higher number? It is factually incorrect. Why? Because they want to trick you into not doing student debt. Now, on the other hand, we just passed tons and tons of aid to Ukraine. I think they should get that aid. I'm happy that they're getting it, but billions, tens of billions of dollars, nobody blinked an eye. Andrew Ross Sorkin didn't go on TV going, well, I mean, with inflation, should we really be sending all this money to Ukraine? Chuck Todd, the neutral, objective reporter on MSNBC didn't come out and say, I mean, is this the time for aid to Ukraine? I mean, is this the time? No, because that's all going to defense contractors. So they high five behind the scenes. They're like, honestly, the groupthink is so thick that before they brainwash you, they brainwash themselves. To them, it never occurs to them to question how we're going to pay for defense contractors. Yeah, do they have defense contractor lobbyists on their air all the time? Yes. Do they ever identify them as such? No. They identify them as former general, former colonel, blah, 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 right? And do they have advertisers often that are defense contractors? Yes. Would they want to insult them and lose millions of dollars? No, okay? But no, if you listen to them, oh, that's outrageous, no way. No, you have to do the defense. Okay, well, how about just giveaways to corporations? Just yesterday on the show, we talked about how they're considering giving $50 billion to tech companies that are the richest companies in the world, including Amazon. $50 billion. Never asked the mainstream media, how are you going to pay for that? Nobody came out and said, well, is this the right time with inflation to needlessly take $50 billion in cash and hand it to corporations who don't need it at all? with no checks on it. Why are you doing it? Oh, well, for research and development. Is it specifically for research and development? No. Can they just use it to buy back their own stock and literally build mansions with it? Yes. Because Bernie actually tried to put a provision saying they can't do stock buybacks. They have to actually use it for the purpose we're claiming. And they said, no, Bernie, they can use it for whatever. No, we're just lying about that, Bernie. Stop annoying us. This is just an unbelievable, gargantuan giveaway to the rich. By the way, that's not all. They're considering a $125 billion giveaway in general to corporations. And Chuck Todd has never said, this doesn't look like the time to give away hundreds of billions of dollars to corporations. Student debt relief, that's to actual human beings? God, no way, get out of here. That's not the moderate position. That would help Americans. No, we don't want that. The moderate position to help corporations and only corporations.
They did that same trick with Medicare for All too. We went through an entire pandemic. We're still dealing with COVID-19 and millions of Americans still don't have health care. And they did the same trick during 2016 with the Bernie Sanders campaign, talking about how Medicare for All was gonna cost some crazy number like $40 trillion. They don't talk about how it's actually over 10 years. And I forget the exact number of that now, but they use those gigantic numbers to scare people. And at the same time, when you look at the defense budget, those are even bigger numbers. And it's constantly approved with a rubber stamp, with no thought outside. Well, of course we have to give weapons to other countries. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't give weapons to Ukraine. They obviously do need them, but we never seem to think about, actually doing stuff for average people too. And there's never any consideration of doing that. Nobody thinks about it. And it's just automatically, we're just gonna shovel money at defense contractors, at big corporations. But whenever it comes to people, oh, is it really time? Is it time for healthcare? Is it time for student loan debt relief? Which, by the way, 10,000 drop in the bucket. It goes down to Biden saying nothing will fundamentally change, because when you look at the banks, you said that earlier today or early in the segment. Well, the banks make a lot of money off student loan asset-backed securities. And if he does something about student loan debt, if he actually cancels the entire thing, well, that's gonna really affect the markets. And he doesn't like that.
Okay, I gotta say more about that. Isn't this funny, guys? Again, you can double check everything we're talking about. We're not right-wing media telling you, oh, you gotta tan your testicles in order to cure COVID or whatever the hell Tucker Carlson says. And so mainstream media loves to say, right-wingers, left-wingers, they're all the same. Remember, everybody, corporations are the only correct answer, okay? But no, I want you to double check us. I want you to double check the facts. So when it came to Build Back Better, that had paid family leave, lower drug prices, etc., they said $1.7 trillion. What a giant price tag, 1.7 trillion. Okay, when it comes to the defense budget, well, that's about 800 billion, but that's just for 1 year. The 1.7 trillion is for 10 years. So if you did the same unit of time for the defense budget, it wouldn't be 1.7 trillion like Build Back Better, it would be 8 trillion. 8 trillion. And never, ever questioned in mainstream media. Everybody just assumes, well, you have to do that. Do you have to do the entire 8 trillion? Is it possible to defend America with a little under 8 trillion and maybe take, for example, 1.7 trillion of that and give us health care and give us child care and give us paid family leave? And by the way, there was a million provisions that the American people loved in that bill. That is, and when was Biden the most popular? He was the most popular after he passed COVID relief bill, okay? Because that actually had progressive positions in it. They were small and they were temporary, but it at least had progressive positions in it. He was sky high. He has done nothing since then. He's lost 25 points. The bottom has fallen out. And they're like, that's why you shouldn't do progressive positions. And they all say it in unison. So guys, isn't it amazing? Isn't it interesting? I'm asking you, if you're a moderate Democrat, moderate Republican, etc., what they call a moderate, isn't it interesting? They want a student debt relief, and you can see it not only in the stories that we already covered, you'll be able to see it in the future. When you turn on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News, what's the conventional wisdom? They never agree, right? I mean, Fox is over here, MSNBC is over here. MSNBC is way left, Fox is right, etc. No, they all agree on this. You shouldn't have student debt relief. We've already done 2 or 3 segments of Fox News going, student debt's out, that's terrible.
They'll go to war
Janine
over it.
Pirro saying, you should pay your debts, you bums. She owes $600,000 for a former campaign. Okay, and now, MSNBC agrees with Fox News. They're all multi-billion-dollar corporations, and they believe in giveaways for corporations, but nothing for the actual Americans. What do they disagree on? Should you tan your testicles or not? Who cares? Should 13 people in the country that are on girls' tracks teams be on boys' tracks teams? We have a country with 330 million people. We're talking about that. Big disagreement. Everybody get distracted. Hey, have you taken all the money out yet, Chuck? Go, keep it going. I'm distracting all of them with squirrels. Dr. Seuss books, that's so important. Defense, give him all the money, give all the money to the contractors. Give all the money to the drug companies, okay? Look at this, the critical race theory. Well, we disagree so much. Student debt relief, it's a wall of conservative corporate propaganda. No to the American people, is this the time? This is not the time. Hey, we all agree, right? You say this is not the time, you say this is not the time, and I say this is not the time. Well, when are you gonna have a progressive on saying it is the time? When are you gonna have a progressive on that actually says the facts? Isn't it interesting that the right wing is all over television? Corporate Democrats and Republicans are all over television. The one people not allowed on are the one people who have the truth. The set of people who would tell you, wait, but Chuck and Andrew and all of you, every goon on here, you're not telling the truth. Look at the 2 different programs.
Yeah.
Conveniently, they're not allowed on television, so nobody ever finds out.
There was a brief window where one show was letting some progressives on, and unfortunately it was Chris Cuomo, so.
That's right, and by the way, Rick Sanchez on CNN did a segment on money in politics, and we covered it. We're like, whoa, okay, give CNN credit. That was a real segment where he pointed out the donors. He was fired within 2 or 3 weeks. They say ostensibly for a different reason, okay? Cuomo's, and to be fair to MSNBC, they also had some fire breathers talking about how Wall Street is extracting money from the system and not actually doing anything, and you should watch out for that. Dylan Ratigan, he's Ed Schultz, me. Wait, none of us are on anymore. That's weird.
Well, to be fair, I only mentioned Chris Cuomo. I don't think there's a conspiracy that took him down. I think he did that stuff.
Yeah. Cuomo's a different situation, right? It's not. Guys, we live in the real world, okay? Cuomo clearly had issues, right? But Ed Schultz didn't have those issues. Phil Donahue didn't have those issues. That's an old school MSNBC host that was taking over. Ashley Banfield didn't have those issues. Radigan didn't have them. Yet anyone who mentions an honest assessment of how corporations are bilking you, all of a sudden they're not on air anymore. There's a progressive blockade because in reality, all of mainstream media is working for corporations. They are corporations. They're all gigantic corporations that hire mouthpieces, but instead of putting them in their PR department, they put them on air as reporters and anchors. It's not an accident that they're tricking you, they're trying to trick you.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.